every day?
Yeah.
Come back to the Blue Spring Lake?
Will you wash it out?
Yeah.
When Corey's
We
kids want to
did
get
take it out
kids
last
in
week, like Tuesday or Wednesday, and you brought it back in on Saturday. So I'm curious, did you properly decontaminate your boat when you took it out and brought it back in? No, it's not. If we're talking about aquatic invasive species and taking it to other lakes, you brought it up.
The fishing boats, so you guys can check all the fishing boats too?
It's an ordinance on the lake, that's all I'm saying.
All the fishing boats are checked?
I'm asking about your boat, that's all.
They don't
The water.
transport water? They have
Corey?
live wells.
Corey? Yes, Dick.
The fishing boats don't have live wells, or they can't leak.
Corey?
So, make a couple comments here. We're looking at the lake right today. So we have somebody says, hey, I'm not surfing much. Surf a little bit, but not much. I mainly wakeboard. What's to stop anybody else from buying these boats or starting to surf a lot? It's a short-term view. I don't surf. I don't make as big a wake as the surfing boats do, but I still make a really big wake. Now, I pointed out at the annual meeting, our number one problem, I'm not against surfing. I've surfed, wakeboarding, on the proper lake, proper areas. It's a great activity. But our lake, and I'm looking at it, it averages a little over 6 foot in depth. Okay? The whole east shore is 4 foot. I've looked at all the studies, even the discredited boat study that the two Mercury Marine people were involved with. They talk about a 200-foot setback in that. Computer modeling, 35 pages. But they do mention there a couple places, minimum depth of 10 foot to operate those boats in. The Malibu website, wakeboarding, says minimum depth to operate their wakeboard boat is 12 foot. Minimum, okay? Now, besides the depth of our lake, and again, you drive that boat through 4 foot of water, unless you're going down the middle. And if you're going down the middle, you're not following the counterclockwise rule. But you drive that boat in 4 foot of water, there is no publication on earth that's going to say these boats do not cause damage in less than 4 foot of water. I go on my paddleboard just about every morning. It gives me a good view of the lake. Of course, I no longer have that view of the bottom of the lake at all, not even close. This lake has changed more in this year than it has in the last 40 years. I remember you and your kids out here doing, they got into the wakeboarding, got really good at it, and then they were going off this lake, as you mentioned, because they were tournaments or going other places. These new boats, they're designed to create the bow up riding in the bigger wake, much different than the boats you grew up driving. We talk about recreational activities. Okay, we don't want to hurt somebody's recreational activity. I like to go on my paddleboard. I like to water ski. I like to go kayaking, me and my wife. I like to have my kids in the water. When those boats are out there running, I can't enjoy any of those activities. They dominate the lake. They reduce everybody else's enjoyment of the lake. And those boats run all the time. I can ski on a Tuesday or a Thursday morning, or I come out on a Wednesday, but those boats are on the lake 7 days a week running it. Now, I don't know how you can run a wakeboard boat in 4 foot of water. We're supposed to have a foot of vegetation on top and say, hey, I'm not damaging the lake. It's not a problem. I'm concerned about the lake. I think you're being a hypocrite when you say those words here to me. I love this lake like we all do. And we all have to try to share the lake. Nobody has a right to run a wakeboard boat in wake enhancement mode and tear up our lake. Our lake is just too small and too shallow to run these boats. Everything coming out, we only have 31 boards that pass this now, but there is not a small lake on the state of Wisconsin, even a big lake, that's not talking about some limitations on this boat. Even Green Lake wants a 700-foot setback from shore and a 40-foot minimum depth. I agree. I think the damage done to this lake right now, I don't know if it can be repaired. I'd like to have a 500-foot setback. That's what the University of Minnesota St. Anthony study suggested to have the same
That's
impact.
not a suggestion. They said that it takes 500 feet for board boat in surf mode, which nobody's using on Blue Spring Lake, to be equivalent to a ski boat that's designed to make the smallest wake.
So
It's not a suggestion.
we're trying to pass an ordinance here that's going to at least try to protect the lake a little bit. I don't think it goes far enough personally. But it doesn't limit any of our other activities out here. It just, as we've all said, it's the artificial enhancement of the wake with the bow upriding. And that is really the problem. And this has not been in the older boats. Your dad Richard's got an older boat, and your Aunt Lisa does. You try to run those boats, they're not made to run at that transitional speed. They were boats with an engine put in the back and a tower put on them. At 20 miles an hour, they're pretty well planed off. They don't have much angle at that wakeboard speed. I don't know how anybody can sit here and say, hey, we should be able to drive our boat in 4 foot of water, which the weeds, we want at least a foot of weeds or some type of aquatic growth to try to encapsulate the sediment. We don't have a gravel lake. We have a lake, what we call muck, and those boats resuspend that along with phosphorus. Look at the lake today. Walk down to your pier. I've never seen it so green or so cloudy since they got the carp out in '79. It's just a tragedy out there. It's an embarrassment. And it can get worse. I can tell you this. You think our algae is growing now? Just give it another year of this stuff. I've got scum every morning when I walk down to my pier. I don't know if you look at your pier and see the scum. I don't know if you look in the water and can't see the bottom. But that's what we've got now. And I think these boats are the main driving force that's caused the deterioration of the water quality in our lake.
So are you going to clarify, like I have a wakeboard boat, doesn't plane, it has the engine in the middle. Am I going to be banned?
It's not
In this
banning the boat.
ordinance.
If you read carefully, it's banning the operation using
The ballast,
ballast,
right?
fins,
Yours is.
whatever, an upright bow. That's what's being banned, not
So,
the
but
boats
everybody
per
can
se.
have a wake, do we want more of these type of boats coming onto the lake in the future? And I don't think anybody does, honestly.
I don't think like this, like people that have a surfing
Grandfather
boat
the
from
ones we
another
have
lake are
in.
not going to come to Blue Spring Lake to surf because it's not deep enough.
We're not trying to get rid of your boats, I just
No, I'm
think.
saying that I don't think like surfing, like the concern about other people coming to a lake, like Blue Spring Lake to like go surfing, it's not.
There's new
not
people
gonna
maybe they
happen.
don't know, they go to the
I mean,
boat
maybe the
place,
new
they pick out a
homeowners
boat,
might.
and then we got more boats.
Yep.
So-
But to your point, Cindy, it's not about banning a boat because we can't ban a certain type of boat. Like you can't across the board do that with any
can't.
ordinances, no. So it's about the actual equipment that's used
Thank you.
on a boat. So again, you can have your wake boat, people can have their wake boats. According to the ordinance, it's prohibiting the use
Of the ballast.
of
and the fin.
any artificial enhancement features.
Simple. It's very simple.
Yes,
I
Ryan.
just tried to ask this earlier, but do we know, or anybody here know where the state is at with their enforcement of the ballast? So I think they were looking at a law
Next
ordinance
year,
for
isn't
all
it?
lakes, 1,500 acres or less.
So it did get out of committee this past year. I contacted our representative, and it's going to be brought up again. The Wisconsin Council of Counties,
that's right.
Counties Association, they just made a proposal, or it's part of their legislative agenda this year to get the state to vote on it. But there's nothing, because they're not in session right now, there's nothing there right now.
So, yeah, the counties, I think last weekend had a meeting, 72 counties, and the counties have certain resolutions that go to the state legislature for suggestions they want to see that would help them out. So the last, Bayfield sponsored one of the ordinance, or proposed law on wakeboarding, and that had a minimum of 700-foot setback. This is state law to go in a 30-foot depth. Now, Jefferson County, they told their representative to agree to that resolution to the state. So that's what the counties are thinking, 700-foot, 30-foot depth.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm just asking, because if the state's going to pass something
But it does,
relatively.
it's not, it hasn't got out of committee. And
Right.
we know, we've got Mercury Marine here, we've got the marine industry as lobbyists. My guess view here is that nothing's going to be done. Vermont is the only state that has a statewide ordinance, and that one says 20-foot depth for 50 continuous acres, 500 feet from shore on either side, and a 200-foot alley to drive the boat in. That's banned wake surfing on out of 730 lakes. They only have 30 lakes that meet that criteria. And of course, now the problem is those 30 lakes are going to take the full impact of these boats out there to use. But that's the only state that's gone that far. But you know, there's not a small lake in Wisconsin that's probably not talking as we are today about trying to do something here. And I think, again, our concern is our lake is so small and so shallow, it doesn't support these boats as designed. As they're designed, they're going to destroy our lake. You use that boat as it's designed. Now, if you drive it without ballast, you plane it off, or you drive it slow no wake, it's not going to have an impact. But used as designed, it's going to, and I think it is destroying our lake. This lake water looks different than any lake water I've seen out here since 1979, since they killed the carp.
Here's
And
1988 until now, the DNR data, and the trend line actually shows that it's improved over time since 1988.
Actually, so
But
I've
it's
got
hard
a
to
comment.
see.
Yeah, I've got a
It's
comment on,
very-
you can spread that out.
Yeah.
And so my husband Paul is one that does the second ditch. I don't know if anyone knows that he does that for the DNR and he does water testing for them. So if you spread out the data, there is variation on the depth. What we are not seeing is the deeper depths. It's all bouncing around the top, which it did in the past. But in the past, you had 10, 12, 14. And the place that he takes, because we say it's only 12 foot deep, the place that he takes it is where the main spring is. So he can go all the way down. And right now, so this
Well,
isn't
the current
this
guy-
isn't great data, but this
No,
is
the current guy that's doing the data
depth.
too said they used to do it in the deep spring, and now they said they moved off. That's
No.
the
Paul's,
point.
my husband's doing it. I know he's doing it in the deep
I'm not
spring.
talking to the.
Yeah. So what these are all the people in the state that are doing Secchi dish, and this is the Secchi depth. Blue Spring Lake is at 6 feet for depth. Actually, I think he's only like at, maybe this is an average for this summer. Anyhow, we're the worst of any of the lakes. This is their depth, you know, they're down to 12, 14 feet. Ours is at 6. So that's one data point. Just, you know, so if you don't remember whether it was more turbid or not, that is a data point comparison to other lakes in the area that are doing similar measurement.
Be a different lake bottom, you know. It's been.
I'm
there's
just
times
saying
in the
it's
80s
one
that-
data point, Corey,
Yeah.
that's all.
There's times in the 80s it's the same as it is now.
When you talk about the states that are eliminating or banning wakeboarding, are they eliminating the wakeboarding sport, or they're eliminating wake-enhanced boats? And
It's
you
almost
said
all-
you
it's all
said you're
surf
eliminating
setbacks.
wakeboarding.
It's all
How-
surfing setbacks if you read it.
Well, but I
Surfboard boats,
wake surfboard boats.
they're synonymous. You can surf
No,
on
they're
just
not
about any boat.
synonymous. They're not synonymous. I can surf behind a pontoon boat,
Yes.
because you can put a wing on a pontoon boat and surf behind it. It can be done. But what I want to know is, you were saying they're banning wakeboarding.
No,
Wake-
then I misspoke. They're not banning wakeboarding. As
Okay.
you know, you can wakeboard behind a pontoon boat.
You can wakeboard behind any boat, but I'm trying to understand what we're talking about, because wakeboarding is being towed behind a boat with 2 feet and a board standing sideways on the board. So that's wakeboarding. Wake surfing is standing on a surfboard and riding a wave that is created by the boat. And they're two totally different sports. I mean,
I think
they're
we're
regulated by
not
two
talking
different
about
organizations.
We're not restricting sports on this. We're
Okay,
restricting.
well, but he was saying, he said wakeboarding is being phased out in play, or, you know, there were criteria.
Vermont passed wakeboarding, wake surfing.
Yeah, we can certainly get that information.
Wake enhanced boats.
Right.
Let me
It's
put that.
typically the.
We're not banning the boats, we're banning
The mode operation.
the operation, we're banning.
The optional equipment.
Just to be clear, really what you gotta be very, very clear. That's my whole point of being in this committee, is that I think it needs to be very clear to people and very transparent. And that's why I want to be on this committee, to make it clear and transparent for the common person on the lake who knows nothing about wakeboarding or wake surfing or any of these things. There's many people who do not even water ski on this lake. they deserve the opportunity and the respect to understand clearly what we're doing. And I really feel at this point, what we should be saying is we are having an ordinance proposed to not have a wakeboard boat operate with ballast and fins, and we are allowing wakeboarding on the lake in a regular manner.
Yeah, that's what the ordinance says.
Yeah, but
That is what we're
don't
doing, yeah.
refer, I mean, my point is, don't refer to it as a wakeboard boat.
That's my problem.
I mean,
too. I agree.
my first boat was a Ski Supreme center mounted engine. And we put a tower on it, we put ballast in it, we wakeboarded behind it. So we gotta make sure you know the definitions.
Here you got these
Right,
two
that's what the ordinance
documents.
says.
You got one that
Artificial wake
says,
and-
an ordinance to regulate boating on Blue Spring Lake. Okay, fine. And then you got one that's real clear that says an ordinance restricting certain artificial
Right.
wake enhancements.
That's the one that we're
Yeah.
proposing we
Well,
use.
And this
The
one,
other-
that one that I handed out
So you
today,
got clarity.
was the
This is
clarity
more
because
clear.
the issues that were brought up at the annual meeting where people were concerned, oh, you're trying to ban skiing, you're trying to ban tubing, you're trying to ban wakeboarding and pulling a
Or
towboat.
kids.
No,
You're not
that's
gonna
all.
ban kids from skiing either.
So we wanted to clarify that language in the exclusions so that people who were worried or concerned about that, so it's very clear that we're only talking about, again, the title of the ordinance, certain artificial wake enhancement. We're not talking about banning boats, we're just talking about restricting certain artificial wake enhancements.
Okay. The one thing though, when you throw it in here, the submersible wings, on some of the newer boats, the wings, or whatever they call them now, are actually there and they function in such a way to bring that boat to plane faster. They're not to necessarily create a bigger wake, they actually make the boat get up on plane faster. So I think you have to be careful how you word that because some of these devices are actually making those boats work more efficiently.
Yeah, but that is, I think, clearly stated, because it says including wake enhancement. There is that
Yeah, but you say
definition to
submersible
it.
wings.
Right,
I'm
but
just,
if they're not being used for wake enhancement, it's not the issue. It's only when it's
And that's the
being-
language that's been used
That's-
across the
understand your
entire
point.
state
I'm
in the
just
ordinances
saying
that have
there are-
passed. So it's not
there
like
are
we're just
pieces of
making these
equipment
this up.
that the manufacturers have developed that somebody might think is a wake enhancer, and it's not. It actually makes the boat work more efficiently. So I understand how you're
Yeah.
saying the wording's there, and if it's not being used as a wake enhancer,
Right.
I understand
Yeah,
that. But I'm just
because we
saying,
can't be too
be a
specific
little
because,
careful.
the boats will come out and they'll name it something else. And so we don't want to have a new ordinance every time there's some new bell and whistle put on a boat. This is strictly about the wake enhancement and the bow operation.
I think our responsibility is, that is the case that everyone eventually would agree on or vote on, that it's very clear to the people. Because I don't think everybody understands fins or ballast on the lake.
I didn't.
And also, I want to bring another point up too. It's very possible to put ballast in regular ski boats.
Okay, absolutely, yeah.
But people probably shouldn't put ballast in regular ski boats either. They could, or they could.
So that would be including here, because again, we're not saying the type of boat, we're just saying generally speaking
Well, I'm
ballast.
just
So
saying, that
ballast-
there are people that have, because it was not available in the past, a
Yeah.
wakeboard boat with ballast or whatever, they used to put them sacks in the boat.
Not even
Right,
loaded.
so my
Uneven
boat
loading.
is a direct drive ski boat. It's made, basically designed to have the smallest weight possible. But I'm 250 pounds. When I drive it, it's like this. My boat actually comes with ballast and the spotter seat. I don't have that option on mine, but it's meant to distribute the boat evenly. So if my son's back there slalom skiing at a certain rate of speed, and I'm not, evens it out that way. So it's enhancing the wake, but it's not making it larger. It's actually evening it out. So like that terminology might ban that from happening, or, I go put, I have to have my wife sit on or the dog, dumbbell off, that little lead ballast bags. You know, so there's all kinds of things like that. Or I think, Dick, even your boat has like a little wedge in the back, right? Or a
I have
fin.
a plate.
Plate, yeah.
Okay, and the purpose of the plate is to make the small wake even smaller. That drives my boat flatter when you
Yeah.
put that plate
So it's
on.
enhancing the wake, but it's making it in a different way than making it larger, right? So, you know, if we're talking about ballast and wake enhancement, fins, plates, wedges, all this stuff, you know, do we have to take them off our boat?
Well, that doesn't artificially make your wake bigger.
Not big.
Question
Okay,
on
read the
that.
But it's
first
enhancing it in a
sentence.
positive way,
Read the first
right?
sentence under the prohibited operation.
Question on that though, and I'm not professing that I know it all. So you put your fin or whatever down, so it basically forces the front of your boat down to create the smaller wake.
Correct.
What is that doing under the water? Is that forcing more water down and creating pressure down?
No.
And is it affecting the bottom of the lake?
No.
What's it doing?
It would have to, because it's a vertical plate. that goes
It's
straight up
creating
and down.
force somewhere. Where's it creating the force? That's my question, and I don't know. I don't know the answer
If you bring your
to
plate up,
this.
Dick, my last boat had the same plate. If you bring your plate up, the back of the boat goes down, the bow comes up. That's what it's designed to do.
I mean, in order to
It's
bring
designed
the back
to-
of your boat up, you're
it's
creating
designed
force
to
down.
Enhance your weight for trick skiing.
Mine is a world-class slalom 3 event ski boat. Okay, the plate moves a whole inch up or down over about a 6-inch period. Luke's got one on his boat too. All it does, there's no groundwork, there's no prop connected to this thing, there's no mechanical device connected to that. The plate simply brings that nose down even a little bit further to create that world-class wake. That's all it does. There's not a big wake even if you don't use it. It's a very
But
small wake.
I'm just saying, to every force is an equal and opposite force. So if you're bringing the back of your boat up, you're pushing water down.
No,
No, you have to be.
no, you don't have to push water down.
How did you raise the back of your boat up then? It's not a skyhook.
Yeah, this is, we're getting a little off subject here.
No, I'm just trying
No, you're
to,
right.
I'm just trying to
But it
clarify.
will push it down.
But
Yeah,
the big-
but that doesn't mean the force is driven down at an angle,
The
okay?
bigger
I'm not
concern,
saying it ain't.
the larger
All right.
concern is the downward prop wash
Yes.
that is scouring the bottom of the lake when artificial wake enhancement is occurring using
In the shallow
particular
area of the
valves.
lake, I have video, I don't think anyone wants to see it, or it's worth even looking at, but every single boat on the lake that drives through the shallow area, whether or not there's slalom skiing, trick skiing, kneeboarding, anything, makes a trail of silt in the shallow area of the lake down by your house.
You know, Andy, I saw that, I saw
So,
that
I mean, all the
video.
boats do it.
I saw that video, and then I couldn't see any trail. Of course, one reason might be the water itself is now so green, you can't notice it. But then it looked like that video was cut away, and then there was some little bit of a trail I could notice, but I didn't see it connected to the boat, watching behind the boat. So I'm not sure if that video has been doctored or just what is done out there to it. But it doesn't seem, before we
We'll
had
get to a new
these
video
surf...
after we leave here if you like.
What's that?
I'll fly my drone and you guys can ski here.
Okay,
Luke will
but,
volunteer, we'll
you
do
know,
it after the meeting.
I don't think we've had this problem with the waters. And we've discussed 4 main areas that these boats impact the lake on. And, because you've asked, is there any, identify the problems? Invasive species, okay. Now, you take your boat off the lake, you fill it up, you bring it back. Now, the state of Wisconsin's got a law. You can't transport water, okay? Can't do it in live well, you should empty your live well. Can't do it in the bottom of the boat, empty your bottom of the boat. With these surf wakeboard boats, the ballast boats, you cannot empty them all the way. I don't know if you're aware of that. So when you go from lake to lake, or people bring their boat onto our lake, you're increasing the chance of invasive species coming into our lake. That's a problem. I pointed out too, any other recreational use on this lake, when those boats are out, is diminished, and sometimes significantly. We worry about erosion of the shorelines, and we also worry about the prop thrust underwater. And the cumulative effect that if we have a lake, which we have poor water quality right now, it's poor. We're almost very poor, but we're poor. Our property values are directly related to how that water looks. And you tell me, when you look at that lake, you go home today, if that looks really good to you. You know, it doesn't to me. I can't see anything looking down. Almost 2 foot of water, I can't see down. So, and this has really changed this year. This summer has really been a significant change in the water clarity of the lake. That phosphorus is making that algae grow. Our lake is
Let's
turning
put in
green.
phosphorus on their grass on the lake. Maybe we should worry about
Well,
that.
you know,
There's a
Corey,
whole
these are all
cornfield that runs
wonderful
into the lake.
things, Corey. We're not talking about.
It's unrelated to what we're talking about.
Huh?
All right.
Completely
One at a
unrelated.
time, one at a time.
So you stop one boat that's not surfing, it's gonna, all the problems are gonna go away.
You'd be a star.
Are you entertaining questions from people who are sitting here?
Can.
I can. Are you done?
Once your grass gets so green, you got the greenest grass in the lake.
Yeah, we take care of our lawn, but that's not what we're talking about
Artificial
today.
fertilizer has to go on that lawn to get it that green. Where does it end up when we get 20, 30 inches of rain this summer? We had, what, 3 times more rain this summer than the previous, like,
Okay,
3 years.
Luke?
I would just try to get this thing back down to earth here. A couple things on prohibited operation back to this proposed ordinance here. I guess I would suggest kind of getting rid of some of the language about the different wave shapers, mechanical foils, and submersible wings, and all that stuff, because there's a lot of that stuff already out there, and it's really hard to prove what it's doing or what it's not doing. So I would recommend the committee to kind of revamp 2, prohibited operation, under section 2, and then just because, you know, like, for example, Corey's fins actually help him kind of get up and plane off. I've been in the boat, and it's fairly noticeable when he's using it. It's like a normal boat. I have a hydro gate, Dick's got a hydro gate. You got a wedge. You got a wedge. Half of the board has stuff anyway.
But Lucas, if you read
wait,
the
Gloria.
first
Can I-
sentence.
Gloria.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'll put a bow on this. So I would just say, just kind of get rid of the language of the actual tangible stuff, and just, you know, and then just say anything that makes the boat ride however the board doesn't want it, just to kind of get rid of that side of life. And then under section 3, where it says similar devices or methods, you know, water skiing, trip skiing, scuba skiing, and so forth, I would just strike all the rest of that and just put towed water sports, because we can't really predict the future, and we don't know what else is gonna come. So I would just kind of, you know, leave it a little bit broader and just say, you know, towed water sports and be done, because we don't know what's gonna happen next. You know, I mean, we don't know what you know, the manufacturer is gonna invent for different types of apparatus to ride on the boat.
And that would be sufficient for Lacey's concern about her kids?
Yeah, because it's just towed water sports altogether. Because, you know, wakeboarding's towed, skiing's towed,
Right.
you know,
I
all
think
that
that's
kind of
what
stuff
the
is
original
towed.
proposal said.
Yeah, but I would hate to.
That's why we added it.
Yeah,
for
no,
her
I would just,
concern.
towed water sports is way more broad
Okay.
than just having a couple, you know, I mean, different little things. So I would just I would consider those 2 things, and then, and also water quality. I think some of that had to do with the weather we had this year. We had 4 or 5 inches of rain in a short amount of time, and then it got real hot, and it was a drought, and we got rain again. So I would say some of the water had to do with, some of the water quality had to do with the environmental factors that we have going on. So I guess it's 10:13. I guess I would move to kind of put a bow on this thing and look at section 2 and look at section 3 and plan another meeting.
There were questions.
Okay. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Peter Trehoviak, lot number 9. Our family's been out here since 1990, and it's to address some of the things you said, sir. I did watch the video on Channel 6, and I guess I was just shocked beyond belief from the drone, watching the boat go down the center of the lake and just watching the trail of the muck come up as it was moving. I mean, it was incredible. And also, you cannot see down. Years ago, even last year, okay, it's Saturday, it'd be very busy, a lot of people out skiing, whatever. Fine, the water was murky. You come out Sunday morning, the water was clear as day. You could look down. Now, it's days later, you can't see down anywhere. I mean, it is horrible. So I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate you bringing these issues up, because the quality isn't what it used to be. I don't think anybody wants to live on a brown potty.
I think Luke's suggestion.
I'm sorry, wait. Okay,
I just like to add a couple little things here. You know, I mean, I think what you're doing is great. It's, you know, something that's gotta be changed with this ordinance, the way, you know, the way a couple of things are, but I don't know if anybody's listened to the DNR podcast where they had the DNR, but first thing he said to communities like this, before, I think his exact words, before you put pen to paper, check with your local authorities to make sure it can be enforced. The Jefferson County Sheriff has already come out and said, Jefferson County is not going to enforce something like this for the town of Palmyra. He said at the last town board meeting. Okay, town of Palmyra does not have a cop. Okay, they don't have a police force. They rely on Jefferson County. So before everybody gets all wound up about an ordinance, obviously we all know now the procedure. It's got to go through the town board. It's got to go to the DNR, but it's got to be enforceable. So that's one thing to consider. And just the one other thing is this is kind of a slippery slope. You start a group of people trying to pass this. Well, yesterday there was an article I read on hydrofoils, about the dangers of hydrofoils and the lithium batteries in the hydrofoils. And they're in, I mean, it's just one of those things that's just gonna kind of keep snowballing, so.
But we aren't the decision. It will be the community that makes the decision. We're
Okay.
just making a recommendation.
I understand, but what I'm saying, it still has to be.
Are we going to come up with more rules?
I don't mean you, I don't mean this committee,
Okay,
but
gotcha.
what's the next 6 people that
Well,
decide
it's
they
the
don't like
community that will
Jesse's?
decide it, not us.
Just listen to me.
Yeah.
What I'm saying
Okay,
is,
I'm done.
what's the next 6 people that are gonna say, I don't like Jesse's? And to be sitting just at a meeting like this with a proposed ordinance. So I'm just saying, be very careful.
and that was Greg Twelmeyer
We got
for the
another
record.
question.
Got it.
Okay. Yes,
I've been on this lake a long time too, 75 years. And it's been quite a while that we talked about what's going to happen when we start getting boats that are too big for this lake. We're there. We are there. And I will tell you that 35 years ago, my husband was elected constable in the town of Palmyra. And he was constable to do a lot of things. One of them was to check on our lake and make sure that everybody was obeying the laws. There were many days at 5 o'clock, especially on a Saturday, when he would get into our rowboat, go out to the middle of the lake, and stand up like this. And you know what happened? Everybody went home because everybody respected the rules, they respected the laws, and they respected our lake. What I see happening to our lake now is disrespect for our lake. They don't care what happens as long as their children are having fun. They want to be professionals. This man's boys were professionals. They haven't been on the lake for 15 to 20 years. I bought a wakeboard from them for my grandson, probably 17 or 18 years ago. But he's not on the lake anymore. He's not seeing the difference. I realize he has a residence, but he's not on the lake like many of us are. I'm on the lake almost every day. Yes, I see a difference. Do I care about your children doing what's fun? I want them to have fun more than anyone. But when it starts tearing up the bottom of our lake and moving things that are on the bottom of our lake, there should be a stop to it. You can not respect it or respect it, whatever you like, I guess. That's your prerogative. but it's hard for people like me to see it happen.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment. Everyone in this room, I'm assuming, is a taxpayer or a resident. Okay?
Yes.
Keep that in mind. That has nothing to do with the people that use the public boat launch. They can do whatever they want because they have no idea what the hell's going on. So we have to keep that in mind. Second thing, Irene raised a good point. There is no constable, and by the time the sheriff gets here, he's not going to witness a damn thing. He's going to have to take somebody's word for it. Now, how are you going to prove what they're being accused of? It's pretty hard. Go to court and try and do it. It won't happen. So I think you have to keep this pretty simple and pretty basic and pretty general, and hope to God that there's enough conscience around the lake that people will respect what it says, because law enforcement is not going to fix it. I don't believe it. I don't water ski anymore. I don't fish here. I go where the water's clean because I don't want to be in this lake. Now, do I live here? Yeah, I do. But that's a fact. I'm going to go somewhere where the water's clean. And I know many places I can do it. As a charity thing, I took care of a property in Mercer for 25 years for a man that lives in California. I can go skiing there. I can go fishing and do everything. Guarantee. And it's on a river, which is usually dirty. And it's twice as clean as this water ever is. So I think there's some things you need to make in mind before you come to making an ordinance that probably isn't even going to be enforceable. Just my comment.
No.
Jim Nolan.
Thank you.
Okay.
Christy Murren, and I think Luke's suggestions are good. I'm fine with that, and I would make a motion that we approve.
Well, we'll have to make the edits.
Make the edits.
After the edits, and then, I mean, do other people have an issue with the edits that Luke suggested?
I think you need to edit.
Effectively approve something though.
Right, you got to edit first.
Well, yes.
You need to table it for now and edit it for a later passing or rejection.
Edit it now and approve it based on, but
Just my comment is, I think policing is going to be tough. I think it's going to be the responsibility of the people that are running the boats to run them properly. You know what I mean? And I think the ordinance is probably going to avoid other people outside coming onto the lake, okay, that have no respect for our lake or what have you.
They don't even know.
It's a start, but like I said, the safety issue is probably going to be more important at when we come up to that later. But we have all these laws and what have you, and if we don't have any enforcement, we're SOL to a point. And I don't know, like I said, I don't think there's a simple answer other than the people regulating themselves. Yes, Lisa. Cindy.
What does a lake constable, are they able to enforce the law?
They're more or less a liaison between the community and local enforcement.
And an ordinance would be posted at the boat launch.
They don't read it. That's a wonderful idea, but it ain't gonna work.
Right.
Doesn't work.
And then if people
So
don't read it,
if
they'll
the
follow.
state passes an ordinance, we don't, it's just their ordinance eventually, without us doing nothing, how does that get enforced?
You can take a boat number and call your DNR, and they have authority to make an arrest.
Right.
Will they?
Yeah.
I have a couple comments, A couple years ago, we drafted an ordinance, which I did, for the boat launch fees. And for years, I heard, well, how do we enforce that? How do we enforce any rule? How do we enforce the counterclockwise rule? How do we enforce the ski hour rule? Well, we really don't have an immediate mechanism to enforce it, but that should not be a stop to us drafting an ordinance and drafting rules out here just because it might be more difficult to enforce.
Okay.
All right. I imagine if we pass a ordinance, that the people here would respect that ordinance, that live on the lake. And again, I think we have to look down the road, who might come on a lake, or what other families might buy one of these, or even larger boats to use on the lake. You know, I think that, and the families that have bought these boats, they're very expensive. You know, I understand that, and they bought it for these type of activities, whether it's surfing or enhancing their wake boarding. But I think just because something's not easy to enforce does not stop us from drafting an ordinance.
That's a great point, Dick, because people are paying the fees, and so there's no way to enforce it, but.
$10,000 over the last couple of years in launch fees.
And.
So certainly, I imagine the majority of the people using the lake pays that $8 fee.
Could I ask Lucas a question? Okay. Could you go back and say which to strike? I've got the towed water sports, but which part of the equipment? I just wanted to get what you said.
I would probably strike everything that mentioned a specific type of equipment. I would just say anything that would create, you know, just say any type of, you know, machinery or any, you know, anything that would enhance, you know, would make the boat ride in that manner, or something that.
Okay, something more generic.
Yeah, something more generic,
okay.
Because
someone needs to write that though.
Okay, utilizing Chris's thing, and I'm gonna presume that this ordinance we're gonna look at closer versus our other one. Does that sound reasonable? And if Luke would come through with his corrections that he did, huh?
I would agree. I would think this is more reasonable than the other one, but I don't think it's done yet.
No, I'm saying, we'll table it. At this point in time, Luke can go and put his corrections in and get it out to everybody. Anybody else here can look at it and put their corrections out. And then we'll go and schedule, after it's been done, I don't know, a week or two down the road, get a Zoom meeting if we don't get a meeting together. Yes, Andy?
Maybe this is ridiculous, but we're calling it restricting certain artificial wake enhancement. Well, Dick just said he uses wake enhancement to make his wake better and smaller. So maybe we need
enlargement.
Maybe it's enlargement, not enhancement. You know, because Ryan's saying that he can put a little extra weight to make his boat ride even. That's actually better.
I do that too.
So
in the ski team single,
it says increases or enhances a wake though in here.
I'm just looking at the first part of it, restricting certain artificial wake enhancement. And is, maybe it's right, maybe it's not. I'm just raising that because there are certain wake enhancements that we're saying are actually beneficial. So we want to make sure.
I throw my ballast in the front of the boat and keep my bow more down. I have ballast I've let shot in the ski team boat that I drive. And I have some tractor weights up there. There's like probably 450 pounds. I'm trying to keep the bow down.
Let's try it. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, everyone's gonna have to.
So there might be some definitions that need to be clarified.
Okay.
Yeah, the more clarity the better, right? I don't want to be driving around and have somebody paddle up to me like wanting to inspect my boat. We're talking about people like policing the lake by themselves. I've been hollered at on a Wednesday by a lake resident told me they didn't pass the boating hours. So check the calendar, it's Wednesday. 6:30, I can be out here. So stop videotaping me. Stop swearing at me.
I know.
So that's why I was saying the more clarity, the better. And there's a lot of different terms. Enhancement in a wake, making it larger, enhancement making it smaller, making it evenly shaped, you know, so there's a lot involved with that, and I think that's why Luke was trying to get clarification on terminology with that, hey, let's start with that, but.
Yes.
Oh, I was just wondering if there is like a goal to when this should be wrapped up, because.
We've got 60 days, right? No, we've got.
60?
We made 30, we got 60 days to come up with something.
Okay.
Yes or no, whatever. So at this point in time, I don't know, what are better evenings for people with the Zoom, or meeting here again next week, the following week? I don't know, what's everybody's schedule?
Yeah.
Zoom better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, if people can meet in person, I prefer in person and then just add on the people that can't with Zoom. I think it's easier to discuss when you see people.
I
Instead
love
of
in
little
person.
thing on my computer.
I vote in favor in person, but have Zoom available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
agree.
Yeah, Zoom?
If I'm on Zoom, you have me for 2.5 minutes.
What do we got going next week?
There it is.
How about
Around.
7 p.m. Zoom, or is that too late?
So this is talking about what they're still trying to do. The ongoing things they're trying to solve.
Okay. That's supposed to be in spring or something like that, or
I
January?
don't know, like they were supposed to have it done already and it's not.
Yeah.
You know, people don't really, there's speculation as to why, but.
Well, since that's going around, since the annual meeting, I updated the documentation that I handed out to include other issues that have popped up. So I wanted everyone on the committee, and then the extras can go in the back. The major part that I added towards the end is all about healthy lakes and property values, and so I wanted to draw attention to that. So that's coming around too, because I think we need to really focus on the fact that water clarity and property values is an issue.
This is from Last Wilderness Alliance, correct?
What is?
This is.
That's mine.
Well, this is on the Last Wilderness website. It's on their website.
Then it is on their website. I don't know.
Well, word for word it is. Okay.
I don't know if that entire document would be, but.
Okay, so.
But I did want to compile everything, so everything could be in one place for ease of access for